94% of New Zealanders are worried about their finances. That is the staggering figure revealed in the latest Money and You research from the Financial Services Council. The research report, Consumer Resilience and the Road to Prosperity, shows the amount of income that can be accessed within a week has decreased across all age groups. Here to run us through the key findings are Minter Ellison Rudd Watts partner Lloyd Kavanagh and the FSC's David Bishop. David, let's start off with you. What are the key findings?
Sure, kia ora. So the key findings of this research, as most of you know, we've been doing FSC research with the Financial Resilience Index and Money and You for like 5 or 6 years. And so we're starting to get quite a lot of trend data coming through, which is really interesting. This particular one focuses, as you said, Jack, on short, medium and longer term savings, and it focuses in on the cost of living crisis that we've seen. And some of the interesting areas that have come out of that, I think, is in the short-term space, we've got a lot of people making choices about what to do with limited amounts of cash, which they may have had more of in the past. And I think most people in the room perhaps are maybe looking at reducing some treat purchases. Some people may be looking at changing their shopping habits, and I think that's quite an interesting place in terms of what we're all thinking. But I think there's more of a problem on in the poorer end where people are actually making such hard decisions on whether to choose to get medicine to heat their homes and to clothe themselves and their kids, and that's one of the reasons we're partnering with KidsCan today for the conference. But 94% is a staggering number, and that means, I think, in context, that we're probably all sat next to somebody in this room that is worried about their finances, which is worrying.
That is extraordinary, isn't it? And obviously, when we talk about financial resilience, a lot of those everyday choices mean that people are forced to think in terms of short-term security, right? And any time you are forced to prioritise short-term security in a binary choice, effectively, your long-term prosperity is at risk as well.
Yeah, I think so. So, and we kind of cut this into medium and long-term. So when we talk about medium sort of term savings, we're thinking about the rainy day funds, the funds for maybe going on holiday, things like that, where people can afford it. What we've been seeing and what the research shows is that those funds are being depleted. So people are actually using those funds now just to live day to day. We've all heard the stories in terms of the hardship fund withdrawals from KiwiSaver, which have been significant over this time. So I think in the medium term it's really important, and that's within the working age population. When we look into the retired population, even more concerningly, we've seen through this research that whereas more people had 5, 10, 15 years worth of savings to live their retirement as they wanted to, we're now seeing that that's dropping quite rapidly as well. And I think that's just a little insight into this idea. We've been talking around all the way through the conference, and we've got an issue in New Zealand about making sure we're fit for dignified retirement. And I think within a cost of living crisis, what we're starting to see is that actually now retirees are seeing some cracks, and that's now, let alone when we've got more retirees in 20 or 30 years' time.
Lloyd, talk to us about your involvement. Why was it important to you and Minter Ellison Rudd Watts to be involved with this research?
Well, Minter Ellison Rudd Watts, our mission is to help shape New Zealand's future. And we all know that these are tough times for many Kiwis. So this was a great opportunity to support the FSC actually getting some numbers and bringing a spotlight on what's going on economically for so many New Zealanders. And we talk about, everyone in the room will know someone who's reflecting on tough financial times. That's true, but we have to acknowledge we kind of are towards the upper end of the food chain, and I really love the analogy of walking a couple of 100 metres and along Karangahape Road and seeing all those stores that are for lease and thinking about the people who work in those places. These are tough times. So helping to raise awareness is something we were proud to contribute to.
Yeah, KiwiSaver. The FSC membership thinks it is time, very much time, for a review to see if KiwiSaver is fulfilling its original goals. Do you agree?
Definitely, and I love the way you kind of teased that out with the Minister of Finance.
Not sure we got much out of that.
No, but we won't give up because it's too important. We go back to 2007. Sir Michael Cullen, I think, made a great contribution to New Zealand, understanding that there are three pillars. We've got the taxpayer funding, we've got New Zealand Superannuation Fund, and we've got KiwiSaver. We're supposed to look at it every 7 years. We did have a look in 2014. I understand COVID meant we missed that 2021, but I think it's really important now that we have a hard look on how it's achieving two critical objectives that were set back at the beginning, which is, first of all, helping make sure New Zealanders are in a better position for retirement, and secondly, a contribution to our capital markets, private and public. And we should keep pushing.
Yeah.
I love the call out about governance, which Jane made, that happens in the beehive. You've got a lot of ministers with a sort of a finger in the pie, no one really pushing to do this. So it's up to us, and it's actually up to everyday New Zealanders.
Talk to us just a bit more about that capital markets point, because I think that's a critical one that we perhaps haven't sufficiently dwelled on so far today. You mentioned it in the forward, an untapped potential for KiwiSaver investment in local private assets.
So the first point is KiwiSaver money is the money of the members of the schemes, and they choose which managers they want to invest it and what style. But if you look at what happens in New Zealand compared to, for example, Australia or further afield, a relatively small proportion is invested in private assets. And there may be something unique about the New Zealand market, but I tend to think as we need to build sustainable infrastructure in New Zealand, fund managers should have every opportunity to look at and get the benefits you get from long lock-ins by investing in those private assets. And in a different role, I, with some of our colleagues here, co-authored an opinion for the Centre for Sustainable Finance about some of the little nudges that kind of don't help us in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And if we need to look across the ditch and see the good stuff they're doing. I know we repeatedly tell ourselves the Aussies are just richer and that's why things go better. Needn't be true.
It seems to me that the infrastructure one is the obvious opportunity, right? Because there is widespread political consensus, even if our political leaders can't necessarily agree on what specific projects should be prioritised. There's widespread political consensus we have a massive infrastructure deficit. I would have thought that encouraging greater KiwiSaver fund investment in some of those local projects, there's benefits on both sides there.
There are benefits on both sides. There are a lot of things. One of the things that's been called out is capability, because fund managers have to develop the skills to know what they're doing. It's clearly higher risk but can be higher return. You need a generation of projects. You look at, there's some accords in Australia, which means government collaborates with their super schemes. So there is a pipeline of building stuff, and particularly things that matter for a sustainable, climate resilient environment. But these are all nudges and they matter.
Yeah. David, according to the research, what effect has the current KiwiSaver model had on everyday Kiwis' medium and long-term savings?
Yeah, so I mean, as we've heard throughout the day today, and KiwiSaver has had an impact, and it has provided a fallback for people in hardship right now. So I think, as Lloyd says, we're looking at the FSC for full review and want to support that. I think one of the things that's really clear in the data is when we look at longer term savings, we know the retirement gap for women is significantly higher and is growing. It's not getting too much smaller, and Jane might correct me on that, but I'll let her do that from the wings. And also we're also finding that younger generations or people that are renting are finding it tougher than homeowners, and lots of our research over the years has focused in on that. I think think one of the key interesting points out of this research is we're finding a lot more that people of retirement age are renting, and they're really struggling to afford their day-to-day. Whereas previous research, we found that was just more in the younger generations. We're now seeing that come through in the older generations as well.
Lloyd, the report shows that for many New Zealanders, KiwiSaver is their only significant financial asset, which obviously creates pressure in times of hardship. What is the role for other investment mechanisms, be it investment funds, direct investments?
Yeah, so it shouldn't be the only solution, and there are many good arguments for people to have other medium-term pools of saving, because if you're in your mid-30s, looking to have money that you can only access at 65 is really important, but you should be doing other things. The big call-out and challenge, of course, is lots of New Zealanders don't have the money to contribute, and that's why more than little tweaks, and there are some great ideas that were raised in a workshop yesterday afternoon about things which kind of move the game, not just with KiwiSaver, but also other things that would enable you to give an answer to your friend you were talking about earlier in Australia. We absolutely do not want to end up with a generation of New Zealanders whose retirement is making beds and coffees for wealthy Australians, love wealthy Australians, by the way, who are just coming over here for a break on their ample retirement funds, where our country people don't have a choice but to keep working until, frankly, they deserve a break.
Yeah, and it's a real risk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. David, is there any reason for optimism? I mean, you've been researching for a number of years now, right? So you have some trend data. Yeah. And if you reflect on the last 6 or 7 years, are there macro trends that stand out to you? Is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, I think when you look over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I've kind of called it the flattening the curve effect. So we've gone through a period with COVID, where it was quite a loose economic environment and people were doing good. And I think what we've now seeing as we've gone through this recessional period, and hopefully we'll start coming out at a pace which it will be, is that we're not really kind of thinking about how we balance the good times with the bad. And I think the research is really starting to sort of point that actually, how can we help New Zealanders flatten that curve so that when times are good, we've got a bit more of a backdrop for helping us when times are not so good, and it's inevitable they will come.
If I could just jump in on that. This is why I passionately believe now is the time to do the work at looking at what we should improve in the tough times. So as things inevitably get better, because life is full of cycles, New Zealanders are not staying on those low contribution rates. They are going, actually, now I do have a bit more in my pocket, and it's in my interest to put some aside.
This is a really good point, and I think we should absolutely hammer it, right? If indeed things are starting to improve, albeit slowly, with this experience fresh in our minds, so we can learn from the lessons about resilience over the last 12 to 24 months, whilst the economy is improving, whilst economic conditions are improving, that's the time to actually build resilience for the next Black Swan event, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
fantastic.
Exactly.
David, where can people see the research?
The research will be up online on the FSC website. I think we've now got about 30 pieces of research over the years focused on different pieces. But yeah, be online today, so please go and have a look at it. I just wanted to call out the FSC Research Committee who helped lead it, and say thank you, Lloyd, for helping us deliver it.
Delighted. Go and have a look. I've seen the advance copy. It's full of really interesting insights.
Fantastic. David Bishop, Lloyd Kavanagh, thank you very much.